I believe in an America that is officially neither Catholic, Protestant, nor Jewish, where no public official either requests or accepts instructions on public policy from the Pope, the National Council of Churches, or any other ecclesiastical source.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for once again visiting The New Nation. Before we get into this video, I'd just like to remind you all, I am incredibly suppressed on social media and even on YouTube a little bit. So just a reminder, like, subscribe these videos, share them with friends, tell your parents, I don't know, email them to colleagues, do whatever you want. Clip them yourself and put them out there on social media for all I care. I don't mind. And as a reminder, go to buymeacoffee.com/thenewNation. It's one way that you can help the show survive. I can make a little bit of money on the side. Win-win. You send me coffees, I keep making these videos. And just before we jump into this video, I just wanted to remind you guys here that the goal is not to sway you to vote for one candidate or the other. It's to give you a little bit of a brief history lesson about the Catholic vote in America and what I think, subjectively, the Catholic vote should be and what the Catholic vote should prioritize. And I'll say this right now, the Catholic vote in America is about 1/4 of the vote. It's about 68 million people. So if politicians understood this, I think that they would try to not pander, but they would try to recognize that it is a really significant vote. And the problem that we'll find out soon is that the Catholic vote isn't a monolith, and I think it should be. And I'll tell you why at the end of this video, that I think Catholics should vote in unison as a group and not be so scattered amongst the parties. But let's get into the video. In the grand tapestry of American political life, one thread stands out with remarkable significance: the Catholic vote. From its early struggles to modern-day influence, the Catholic vote has been a pivotal force in shaping the nation's political landscape. The story begins in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. As waves of Catholic immigrants arrived in the United States, many came from Ireland, Italy, and Poland, seeking refuge and opportunity. Their arrival marked the beginning of a new political force. Initially, Catholics faced significant prejudice and were often politically marginalized. However, as they settled into their new homes, they began to assert their influence. Labor movements and political activism became key areas where Catholic communities made their voices heard. Now, I know you guys are probably thinking, oh, labor unions, this is communism. Yeah, this is true. But there's differences between labor unions and labor movements. And Pope Leo XIII, I believe, in 1891, his encyclical Rerum Novarum, he encouraged Catholics not to join socialist labor unions. So he actually encouraged non-socialist labor unions. So that's just something to keep in mind. And something to also keep in mind is that because of how marginalized Catholics were in America in the early 20th century, especially Catholic immigrants from Italy, Ireland, and a slew of other countries, it was very hard for them to get prominent positions in labor, in the workforce in America, and positions at all. So that's what kind of spawned the mob, the different mobs, the Italian mob, the Irish mob in America, was because they did see no other way of being able to make money or being able to make a living for themselves. So they started these criminal organizations and then took over the labor unions in America. So it's kind of funny, that I think in regards to politics and in regards to the economy, a lot of Catholics, especially back then and even now, will push their faith to the side in order to pursue these political positions of power and to pursue, I don't know, the sort of economic dream of America and not the, I don't know, the Christian foundation of America, if I were to put it that way. Let's keep going on. It wasn't until the 1920s when Alfred E. Smith, a man born in New York City to a working-class immigrant family, became the first Catholic ever nominated for president of the United States by a major party. Smith's early life was shaped by the struggles of urban poverty. His political career began with local politics, and he quickly rose through the ranks, serving as a member of the New York State Assembly and later as governor of New York for 4 terms. Smith's tenure as governor was marked by progressive reforms, including labor rights improvements and the establishment of social welfare programs. His achievements earned him national recognition, and in 1928 he became the Democratic Party's presidential candidate. Despite his loss to Herbert Hoover, Smith's candidacy was a milestone in American history, symbolizing the increasing influence of Catholic politicians and immigrants in U.S. politics. After his presidential run, Smith continued to be an influential figure, advocating for public policy and working to bridge divides in American society. his legacy remains significant as a pioneer for religious and ethnic diversity in American politics. Now, in 1899, a letter by Pope Leo XIII to Cardinal Gibbons criticized certain aspects of American society and its approach to a religion. This was called the heresy of Americanism, and it was a term used by some within the Catholic Church in the late 19th and early 20th centuries to describe a perceived threat to traditional Catholic teaching posed by the American democratic and cultural ideals. Here are three key issues that were at stake. One was the separation of church and state, and Americanism in this context was associated with the idea that church and state should be separate, which was seen by some church authorities as undermining the authority and influence of the Catholic Church. Second of these key issues was religious pluralism. The diverse religious landscape of the United States, with its freedom of religion and multiple denominations, was viewed by some as a challenge to the unity and authority of the Catholic Church. And individualism, the American emphasis on individual rights and personal freedom, was seen as conflicting with the Church's hierarchical structure and its teachings on the communal and doctrinal aspects of the faith. Pope Leo XIII and other critics were concerned that these American values might lead Catholics to adopt a more individualistic and less traditional approach to their faith, potentially weakening their commitment to church teachings and authorities. Over time, though, and this is later on in the future, a lot of Catholics within the Catholic Church in the U.S. found ways to reconcile their faith with American values, and the Church has since adapted to the cultural context of the country. The turning point came in 1960 with the election of John F. Kennedy, first Catholic president of the United States. Kennedy's victory was not just a personal triumph, but a significant moment for Catholic voters, demonstrating their growing political clout. Okay, let's talk a little bit about John F. Kennedy right now, because John F. Kennedy is a very, very interesting figure. He is the first Roman Catholic president of the United States, but on multiple occasions, he has publicly said that he wouldn't put his faith as a Catholic over his, political duties as the president of the United States. And there are a couple of instances in which he does this. He does this in this video clip that we're about to watch, and then I'm going to read a quote for you where he says it again. And, if we were to look at, any sort of reverent or practicing or upstanding kind of Catholic, and, I'm not judging people's hearts, but I'm judging people's actions. Kennedy, he was probably like not the best caricature of a Catholic, with his, womanizing, his cheating on his wife, and other sort of shady dealings. I wouldn't really put him high on the list of reverend Catholics. He's not a saint by any means. And I think this is the problem, is that he didn't put his faith first. And I think if you're trying to get the Catholic vote, what you really want to do is you want to go after Catholic policies. Yes, I understand that this is America. Yes, I understand that, the state has no church, right? Has no official church. But, back when the colonies existed, each colony had a church. Each colony was founded with a state church. And this idea has sort of gone away. People really don't think about this anymore. So if a Catholic is going to run for president, we have to make sure, as Catholic voters, that president is well catechized, and that president is going to speak for Catholics when it comes to, foundational principles that we hold, whether it comes to the natural law, whether it comes to abortion, whether it comes to the sanctity of marriage, social justice, all of these things. The Catholic presidential candidate and any other political candidate really has to have these things in mind, if he even wants to garner any of the Catholic vote. Because if he's just, like I said, if he's just willing on the secular vote, fine, so be it. But then he's going to isolate 68 million American voters. But let's listen to what Kennedy has to say.
I believe in an America where the separation of church and state is absolute, where no Catholic prelate would tell the president, should he be Catholic, how to act, and no Protestant minister would tell his parishioners for whom to vote, where no church or church school is granted any public funds or political preference, and where no man is denied public office merely because his religion differs from the president who might appoint him or the people who might elect him. I believe in an America that is officially neither Catholic, Protestant, nor Jewish, where no public official either requests or accepts instructions on public policy from the Pope, the National Council of Churches, or any other ecclesiastical source. when no religious body seeks to impose its will, directly or indirectly, upon the general populace or the public acts of its officials, and where religious liberty is so indivisible that an act against one church is treated as an act against all.
Quote, nor am I appealing, as is too often claimed, to a so-called Catholic vote. Even if such a vote exists, which I doubt, I want to make one thing clear again. I want no votes solely on account of my religion. Any voter, Catholic or otherwise, who feels another candidate would be a superior president should support that candidate. I do not want any vote cast for me for such illogical reasons. Neither do I want anyone to support my candidacy merely to prove that this nation is not bigoted and that a Catholic can be elected president. I have never suggested that those opposed to me are thereby anti-Catholic. There are ample legitimate grounds for supporting other candidates, though I will not, of course, detail them here. Nor have I ever suggested that the Democratic Party is required to nominate me or face a Catholic revolt in November. I do not believe that to be true. I cannot believe our convention would act on such a premise, and I do believe that a majority of Americans of every faith will support the Democratic nominee, whoever he is. In the decades that followed, the Catholic vote continued to evolve. The community became a key battleground for both major parties, with candidates vying to address issues of concern such as social justice, education, and family values. The Catholic vote is unique in its ability to swing elections. The community's diverse demographics of varying priorities mean that candidates must address a wide range of issues to secure their support. From its humble beginnings to its current significance, the Catholic vote is a testament to the enduring influence of faith and community in American politics. As the nation continues to evolve, one thing remains clear. The Catholic vote will continue to play a crucial role in the shaping of the future. This is paragraph 2242. The citizen is obliged in conscience not to follow the directives of civil authorities when they are contrary to the demands of the moral order, to the fundamental rights of persons or the teaching of the gospel. Refusing obedience to civil authorities when their demands are contrary to those of an upright conscience find its justification in the distinction between serving God and serving the political community. Render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. We must obey God rather than men. And this is very interesting to read things like this in the Catechism, because when you listen to John F. Kennedy, he's basically saying that, I'm not going to win as a Catholic president to show that Catholics can be president and to show that there's no anti-Catholic bias in the United States. If you want to vote for another candidate, feel free to vote for that candidate. In that particular speech, he's speaking to a room full of Protestant preachers. He's not talking to us. So I think that's the problem when you're trying to appease other groups of people when you're running as a Catholic president, when you're running as a Christian president. My vote will not go to any person who defies the teaching of the Catechism of the Catholic Church or defies the natural law. It's just not going to happen. And I think as a Christian voter especially, you do have to weigh these things in your conscience when you're about to cast your vote. It's very, very important. So if we're looking at the two major parties, the two options that we really only have, you have someone on the left like Kamala Harris who defies natural laws and the foundational teachings of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, whether it's regarding abortion, the sanctity of marriage, and a multitude of other things. And then you have someone like Trump on the other side who is pretty much on the same level, but just like a little bit lower. Abortion up to 8 or 12 weeks, excuses sodomy, things like that. They're both incredible Zionists who want to elevate the state of Israel and who have no problem taking money from the Israeli lobby. I don't find those as a Catholic attractive policy positions that I can vote for enthusiastically, okay? Like I've said before, I'm abstaining from this election. I'm not telling you to, I'm not forcing you to. I just want you to examine your conscience. Now, if the vote of the 2024 election came down on my shoulders exclusively and I was the one determining vote, would I vote for either of these candidates? Yes. I would probably vote for, I'm sure you can guess, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about who you can vote for as a Catholic and where is the foundation and what is the foundation of your vote? What is it based on? Thank you guys again for watching. I hope you're liking the new direction of these videos. Let's talk in the comments. See you next time.